Welcome back. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth sending a clear message to Europe at the NATO conference in Belgium, saying that the China threat is keeping the U.S. from guaranteeing the continent's security. Watch.
We must and we are focusing on security of our own borders. We also face a peer competitor in the communist Chinese with the capability and intent to threaten our homeland and core national interests in the Indo-Pacific. The U.S. is prioritizing deterring war with China in the Pacific, recognizing the reality of scarcity and making the resourcing trade-offs to ensure deterrence does not fail.
Joining me now is Gatestone Institute senior fellow and the author of Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America, Gordon Chang, back with me. Gordon, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Well, look, Pete Hegseth really laid it out in terms of the threat that is the Communist Party of China on America, and that has to dictate our positioning everywhere else. Your reaction?
Well, the important thing is not what we think we're doing, it's what China thinks we are doing. And I'm concerned that what Xi Jinping heard was a failure of American will to counter a clear case of aggression in Europe. And probably Xi Jinping is thinking, well, if the Americans won't stand up to Putin, they're certainly not going to stand up to me. We know this because of Chinese propaganda after the failure of Afghanistan, where they clearly linked it to an American failure to defend Taiwan. So we have to, I'm not saying what the Chinese are right. I'm saying that's what they're thinking, which means that Xi Jinping probably will be emboldened to be even more aggressive in East Asia.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me that the Congress overall is not on the same page on this. I mean, for so many years, the Democrats were screaming Russia, 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 trying to implicate President Trump in that ridiculous Russia collusion story. All of those years, they missed the aggression of Communist China. All of those years allowing Communist China to roll over the United States. We are now more than 2 years after the Chinese spy balloon surveilled the United States. And now we've got even a better idea of what that spy balloon was carrying inside and sending it back to Communist China in real time. A new report finds that it was loaded with U.S.-made technology from at least 5 different American companies, including communication modules, other sophisticated surveillance equipment. The balloon, of course, was shot down over the North Carolina coast after traversing the country for a week. Joe Biden finally decides to shoot it down when it gets to the Carolinas. As the House Foreign Affairs Committee finds, Beijing invested more than $10 billion into the Caribbean since 2005, including a massive port just 87 miles away from Florida. Gordon, we've talked about this is the Chinese's MO. You know, acquire land near military bases, lend these countries money that they can't pay back, like in the Caribbean. And then once they can't pay it back, China takes over the area, including ports, which are incredibly important. My question is, you say that this has given China undue influence in the United States. We're seeing a rise at Chinese nationals at the border as well. So the threat is real, and we understand it. But for years, the Biden administration played it down. The Democrats have been playing it down. Remember when that spy balloon was traversing across the country, and they said, oh, no, it didn't send anything back. That was a lie. We know that it did send it back, but they misled the American people, again, even about that. Why?
You know, that is a great question, and I don't know the mentality of the Biden administration, but certainly General Mark Milley, just before he left his post as chairman of the Joint Chiefs, actually gave a public interview and said that he did not think that China sent anything back from that spy balloon, where we know that it in fact did, because subsequent reporting said that was clearly the case. And of course, this balloon had communication modules. This was, I think, a failure of the Biden administration to understand the threat posed by China, because I think Biden felt that he could accommodate the Chinese ultimately. And I think that was wrong, because the Communist Party has made it very clear. It has declared a people's war on us. They define that as total war. We have Chinese migrants in our country who are surveilling our military bases. It runs through the list. The signs of attack are obvious, and the Biden administration clearly failed to understand what was going on. Trump's taking a different view, and that's very good.
Yeah, I mean, even as President Trump is securing the border and deporting criminals, you still have a flow of Chinese nationals coming into this country, don't you? Why? Well, I mean, you can't just leave China. You need approval for that.
Yeah, if we go back 2 years, the Chinese migrants coming across our border, southern border, were family groups. In other words, people who were desperate to live in a free society. Now, U.S. Border Patrol reports that at least 2/3 of the Chinese migrants across the southern border are single males, military age, traveling without family members. They're coming in packs of 4 to 15. And in those packs, some of them just have all identical kit, which indicates planning for an attack. And this coincides with this uptick in tempo of Chinese incursions into our military facilities, both on the ground and in the air. This is looking at our vulnerabilities, seeing our patterns, planning for an assault on our bases.
That's unbelievable. And to see that they all have the same kits, that's also incredible. I didn't know that. Look, Gordon, you have a new op-ed for The Hill. It's about China's 15% tariff on American natural gas. You say it could undermine the U.S.'s ability to sell the much-needed energy exports to the rest of the world.
Yes. I mean, that's what people are saying, that the United States won't make long-term commitments to build LNG export facilities because they don't have Chinese contracts. I don't think that is right. And the reason is China took only 6% of our exports of LNG last year. Really, the world needs American LNG because it's the cleanest molecules in the world. And we're going into a world which is going to be energy starved. You know, President Reagan lowered the price of commodities to starve the Soviet Union. I think Trump is trying to do the same thing with his plans for drilling. And that means when Americans drill for profit, they're also drilling for peace, stability, and freedom around the world.
Right.
So, yes, we should be exporting as much LNG as possible because that gives the U.S. leverage to maintain stability.
Sure. Well, we've been covering the CCP's influence campaign on this program certainly for years. Season 2 of my Fox Nation special, Underwriting the Enemy, is now live. It is streaming on Fox Nation. We dive into Beijing's actions in the United States. Watch this.
This is not just an ordinary issue in U.S.-China relations.
This season on Underwriting the Enemy.
The red lights are blinking.
The Chinese Communist Party is essentially the mafia.
A real-time merger of the biggest U.S. banks and the Chinese government.
This has to be illegal.
We're talking about a world war.
Lie after lie after lie.
It's happening in cornfields in Iowa.
We've got to stop funding our own demise.
Gordon, you were featured in Season 1. What's your reaction as we continue looking at how America is underwriting the enemy, our number one adversary, China?
Yeah, the comments from Roger Robinson are absolutely critical. The United States should not be funding China's war machine and China's assault on us. And we're doing that because we're allowing Americans to invest in China. And also, of course, the trade and the technical cooperation. You know, history is going to look back at us and say, why did we do this even after the dangers became evident? And so your documentary really is critical to helping Americans understand what they now must do. They may not want to do it, but if we're going to maintain our society and our peace and stability, we absolutely have to.
All right. Gordon, great to have you this morning. Thanks so much. Underwriting the Enemy is streaming right now on Fox Nation. Good to see you, sir. We'll be right back.